And we are inside a DuPont Circle mansion. It's the National Women's Democratic Club. Our tour guide is a hoot. He's a man who used to be the vice president of the club. He's giving a constant anti-Trump screed that at least three of us think is ridiculous. And he's in general just crazy and senile. Basically, it's Biden giving us the tour. But so there's Lady Bird, there's Michelle Obama. So let's join the tour and hear this guy.
Anyway, this room is Eleanor Roosevelt. Now, when she was the first lady,
Eleanor Roosevelt room.
FDR had his famous fireside chats, and on the radio. So Eleanor went to Franklin, her husband, and said, "Franklin, my dear," I don't know how I'm imagining what she said, but anyway, she said, "Franklin, you're doing fireside chats. Well, anything you can do, I can do better." That sounds like Annie Oakley. So did it. So what Eleanor Roosevelt did, and she did it right at this round table. This is not the Knights of the Round Table. This is the Eleanor Roosevelt Round Table. What she did was she'd get up in the morning at the White House. She'd call her driver. A limousine would drive Eleanor Roosevelt from the White House here. She was a member. She would come up to the second floor. She'd come right in and sit more or less where you're sitting, my friend. And he doesn't look, you're a dead ringer for Eleanor Roosevelt, except for the beard. So anyway.
Oh, the beard too.
Well, I'm not even going to get into rumors. I'm not going to dignify. Okay, so here's what she did. Women faced discrimination then, when she was president, when she was first lady. And that was from 1933 until 1945, when Franklin Roosevelt died of a stroke of brain hemorrhage in Warren Springs, Georgia. It was a shock to the nation. And I was born before he died. And America mourned. Well, how many Americans will mourn if this orange toxic waste dump? Why does dump rhyme with Trump? It's just a coincidence. Or is it? So anyway, what would she do? Here's what she did. She said, women are not getting the respect. Women journalists in particular. This woman, she was first lady. And FDR was president. And there's a great drawing of it on the wall. And here also, for those of you who can crane your necks, you see another younger FDR. I get chills. And so what she would do, she said, women journalists are not getting enough respect. And they weren't. Men, this is in the 1930s, and men were misogynists. I mean, breaking news, men were misogynists. Who knew that they were? So what Eleanor Roosevelt said, she said, all right,
What's the name of the lady?
you won't let women into your press conferences, men, journalists. And so she summoned, and there were chairs lined up right here, and she'd sit right where I am. And she'd stand up, and she'd give a news conference. But a man, journalist, get interest in her invitation only news conferences? No. Only women. She said, it's a remedy. If you men want to be as misogynistic and sexist and non-inclusive. So what she did, they sat right here, and they took notes, and they were women journalists, and she said, I'm righting the balance. It's imbalanced. Women were discriminated against. Again, breaking news, I don't think so. But so this is where she did it. She invited the women journalists who couldn't get in anywhere else. She said, come to the Women's National Democratic Club. She said, I'm a member. And she said, come here, you'll be welcome. And she gave news conferences, but you had to be a woman journalist to get into this room. And you're standing where history was written because Eleanor Roosevelt and Franklin and her husband, and they wrote history, and it's called Community. And they got us out of one mess called the Depression. I don't know. So, the other thing that she did from this room, Melinda's the driver of the White House, and she'd come here, and she would sit here, and she would record. Remember, Franklin had his startup like that, and here's where she came, and she recorded her own fireside chats, radio like that. And she would come here, games were set up, recording material, machinery, and microphone and stuff like that. And she had notes, she'd read them notes, basically. Eleanor would talk about what interested her. That's what she did her own fireside chats in this room. The final thing about this room, behind you is the Frances Perkins desk. Look at that little desk. Who was Frances Perkins? She was the first, there's a portrait. Frances Perkins was the first woman ever to be named to the cabinet of the United States. The first woman. No president had named a woman to his cabinet until FDR said to Frances Perkins that she was a great social reformer and blah, blah. And so he named her Secretary of Labor. She was the first woman to sit in the cabinet, and she served the entire 12 years that Franklin Roosevelt was in the White House. Frances Perkins, and that, my friends, is her that point. That. And when I'm here in the club, I want to write something, and I want to be inspired. You know what I do? I come and I sit at Frances Perkins' her own desk, and you know, I think this is pretty cool. How the hell did you pull this off? And then I actually do get inspired. And at Frances Perkins' desk. And here we are in the Eleanor Roosevelt room. Now we're about to go into the Hillary Clinton room. And for those of you who wonder, it's right here. It's right here. We're going into it. Right here.
There are actually light switches.
Probably, but I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't do this for a living. In fact, I pay to be a member of the club. We don't get, I'm a member of the club. We don't get paid. We do this because we want to do it. So I don't know everything. Now I could say the defense rests, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say when I don't know this. Anyway, it's important what it is now. This is the Hillary Clinton room. Yes, Hillary Clinton would come here, and yes, this club supported her.
I know what you're talking about.
The Hillary Clinton room, and there she is. And God bless America, and please her. She should have been elected president. In fact,
Yeah, that's great.
and is this a Bernie Sanders? And yes, I worked in Bernie's campaign. I was a speechwriter for Bernie Sanders. But this is not about me. She should have been elected president, but she wasn't. And neither was Kamala.
Remind me, this house was owned by FDR or?
No, this house was never owned by FDR. It was owned by the Whittemore family and built it in 1892. And in 1927, they sold it. The Whittemore family sold it to the Women's National Democratic Club in 1927. FDR, I don't think ever, there's no record in our archives. In the basement, we have detailed archives. And we have an archivist, because this club is history. This club is history. This club is history. And do I used to be a history professor? You're darn tootin' I used to be this. Now, I was not an adjunct professor, but I was some kind of a professor. and I did study history. And for those of you who don't believe me, history doesn't repeat itself. It sure as hell not. Okay, this is the Hillary Clinton room and room. So make a sharp left as we exit Hillary, and there's photograph and things like that. We're going to turn a sharp left. I hate sharp right turns. For some reason, I'm wired, hardwired to make a sharp left. And here we go. So we're entering. Notice on the door it says president. It says president on the door. It says president. Why does it say president on the door? Because the president, who's an elected officer, the president of the club, uses this as her office. Who's president of the club? Once again, if you happen to know our work in Ta-Nehisi Coates,
I'm gonna say Lily Fillmore.
So this is the Eleanor Roosevelt room. This is apparently where she held her press conferences that were only for women reporters. Although, looks like the picture Franklin slipped in. This is Frances Perkins Gilman's desk. She was the first Labour secretary. It was her desk when she was hanging out with Eleanor. I don't know if she was one of the people supposed to be canoodling with Eleanor. I guess that's a statue of Eleanor. This guy giving her terror is a Bernie Sanders speechwriter, and he keeps telling us over and over again that Ta-Nehisi Coates' mom is the current president of the club.
Notice how the temperature drops 20 degrees in this room. I said that to some guy, he looked at me like,
Well, those closets were rattling when we first came in.
I wish he would just tell us how he really feels.
Yeah, I do too. Well, he did tell us he's a Bernie staffer.
Darling, he's been ranting you for 20 minutes before you arrived.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I got here. I was 7 minutes late.
No, darling.
When I parked, it was 7 after.
I don't see anything of Jackie.
Yes, it's right here. Oh, no, that's Lady Bird Johnson.
That's Lady Bird.
No, I haven't seen
That's
it
Lady
yet.
Bird
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
No, I don't want to point out anything valuable. There's a camera right over there looking right at it. But there's two little